So, me coming out break from YouTube, I found out that the Black Clover anime was about to go on a massive super long break this March. And with this break, it meant that Black Clover opening 13 was going to be the last opening we were going to get in a long time. So, I thought it would be fun to take a look back on all 13 Black Clover openings and rank them from worst to best on various factors such as song choice, animation, and whatever I choose to base it off of. But before we get into today's video, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Black Clover content, join the Discord server as we discuss a lot of subjects as well, and most importantly, make sure to let me know how you would rank all 13 openings in the comments down below, and without further ado, let's get into the video. So for last place on this list of openings, I would honestly have to give it to opening 2, titled Painted Black. Now just because something is last doesn't mean it's bad, and in this case I would have to say that principle applies and say this opening just isn't as good as the others. It featured the dungeon exploration arc which contained Austin Universe Mars. Now overall the song choice was good and I generally enjoyed it. The animation was okay I guess, but it wasn't really something to give it praise for, as this was one of Black Clover's first openings and it didn't have as many resources to put into it. The color scheme was a little weird for me, but overall it's not a bad opening. It just didn't have as much content in it, and at the end of the day it doesn't compare in any aspect to more recent openings which got more attention and more of a budget. Next is opening 5, titled Gamushara, and it features the Witch's Forest arc. Now I kind of feel bad ranking this low just because there's really nothing wrong with this opening. The song choice was overall one of my favorites and the animation was just like last one, okay for its time. But the main problem about this opening is the lack of action, which I think was a big mistake. Now I do feel like the opening was meant to have a sad tone to it because the opening was about Asta losing the use of his arms and they're not gonna hype that all up. But there was also some pretty amazing fights they could have incorporated into the opening, such as Asta vs Ladros, or even something about the Clover Kingdom fighting against the Diamond Kingdom, which did happen in the beginning of the arc. But yeah, it was a pretty good opening overall, and maybe the action thing was just something I got bothered by, but I do feel like it was necessary to say, and it's safe to rank it around second to last. For 11th place on this list of openings, I would have to say opening 11, titled Stories, belongs here, and this is another really conflicting one as I actually enjoyed it overall. The animation was also pretty good comparing it to the rest of the openings, but I guess the obvious problem with this opening is that the opening was made for a filler arc in which we didn't get any canon content. I mean, we were able to see Xenon for a few seconds, but even then, we only got to see his back, which is something we have seen before. And the story of the opening was also kind of confusing, as we got to see multiple of our favorite characters and they sort of stood in this battle-like stance for no reason. I mean, they weren't fighting anyone, but they seemed to appear to be. This was due to being a filler arc and not really having a legit major villain. Overall, I really did personally enjoy the opening and its graphics, but like I said, it wasn't too hyped or noticed, and it was just going over old or filler scenes, and that is why it's so low. Next, I would say it would have to be opening 7, titled Just Add Eyes, which covered the end of the World Knights arc and the beginning of the Reincarnation arc. Now, while the animation and song choice was okay, most of the opening was going over regular scenes like each of the characters posing, which we have seen multiple times. Now, the only part which seemed to show any action or hype was when Asta and Yuno were transforming into their respective forms, and that was pretty cool. And I guess the beginning of it when Asta and Yuno faced off with each other was also pretty cool too. But like the last one, it really lacked a significant storyline or theme, and I did enjoy it to some extent, but taking the opening itself into account, it was kind of a little bit above average. For 9th place, I would have to say opening 1, titled Haruka Mariah, belongs here. Now before you start ranting about how it's the first opening and because of that it should be higher, let me just say usually I would totally agree with you, but I think that we should just take into account the opening itself and nothing else, and when it comes down to it, the song choice is absolutely phenomenal. But other than that, it wasn't too over the top. It included some action scenes, but now looking back on it, it does seem kind of boring. Since it was the first opening, it probably didn't get the animation or resources more recent openings did, and it overall looks kind of bland compared to other openings. While I would like to see it raise in rank, I am trying to be as unbiased as possible when ranking these openings, and I overall feel like rank 9 is actually just right for it. Next is opening 4 titled Guess Who Is Back, which covered the Seabed Temple arc. This is actually a personal favorite and it featured the Black Bull's first battle from the Eye of the Midnight Sun. It's overall one of Black Clover's most underrated openings in my opinion. The song choice fits the arc and the theme of the fight, and it also gives a very iconic feel to it with the phrase Guess Who Is Back, which is obviously referring to the Black Bulls. Now the animation was okay but nothing too great, but it was scenes like Manga and Luck and Asta and the Black Bulls that really pushed this opening to this rank. Since it's a very old opening, it doesn't really get enough attention, but it's something that I think most people should check out again. Anyway, moving on. Next is opening 6 titled The Rakugaki Page, which covered all of the Royal Knights arc. This opening was actually one of the best of Black Clovers for a while, and it featured a lot of cool fights like Asta vs Magna and Universe Will. The animation was also pretty good for most of the scenes, and the action was of course 10 out of 10. It actually was a pretty good opening when you want to check out some typical anime tournament arcs. I guess the only problem I had with the opening was the song choice. While I think it was okay, it could have been a little bit better. But besides that, it overall was a pretty good opening and one of my favorites. Now for 6th place, I would have to say it goes to my favorite Black Clover opening of all time. Opening 3 titled Black Rover, which featured the Royal Capital arc, and it was absolutely amazing. I don't really have anything negative to say about it. The song choice was 10 out of 10, the action was 10 out of 10, and the animation was the best it could have been. I guess the song Black Rover, which sounds a lot like the name Black Clover, must have really done it for most people. It pretty much modeled what the ideal Black Clover opening should look like to me, and still makes me get up and dance to this day. I guess I'm probably being a little bit biased towards it because it is my favorite, but I don't really care. I think it's pretty reasonable to put it in 6th place and not the top 5. Now for 5th place, we have opening 9 titled Right Now, which covers some of the reincarnation arc. It features fights such as Noelle vs Fonza and Marilona vs Beto. Now before I really started watching it, I didn't see that much of a problem with it, but now that I can tell, the animation wasn't that god tier. I mean, of course it wasn't horrible or anything, but it could have been a lot better. I really enjoyed the song choice and the action that was included into the opening. I mean, it was basically a fighting montage, but when looking at some of the previous openings, I did notice that the animation was a little bit better. Now I'm not going to factor animation that much into the ranking of this opening, as the opening was pretty good regardless, but it is something to note. Anyway, overall the action was just too good not to place it in the top 5, and now moving on to 4th place. Next is opening 8 titled Sky and Blue, which covered the beginning of the reincarnation arc. It features its fights such as Asta and Universe Licked and Marilona vs Raya, and is overall my 2nd favorite opening. Besides the okay song choice, the animation was super clean and the action was of course 10 out of 10. Just like opening 3, I don't have anything too bad or negative to say about it because it was so good. Like I said, maybe the song choice could have been a little better, but when I see the scenes of Asta and Yuno fighting Licked, my mind forgets all of that. Again, not much to say. I think 4th place is good enough. So we're getting into the top 3, and these top 3 openings are arguably the best of Black Clover. In 3rd place, we have opening 12, Everlasting Shine, which featured the awesome Magic Knight Captain fight. Now while it wasn't technically derived from the manga, this opening completely surpassed my expectations. Besides the very catchy song choice, the animation was honestly the cleanest it could have been. We got to see several incredible matchups such as Nozel vs Fergelion and Dorothy vs Jack. But it wasn't just these factors that made me put it so high. It was the fact they made an anime-only opening belonging to an anime-only arc and managed to make it better than some of these canon openings belonging to canon arcs. They gave us the one thing we really needed before we dive into the Spade arc, which was a captain-only battle. I mean, I honestly don't have any negative criticism for this opening because it was that good. In 2nd place, we have opening 10 titled Black Catcher, which is probably the most iconic opening of Black Clover. It covers the end of the reincarnation arc and contains the ultimate final battle of Asta and Universe at Gred. Now, I know I made the argument early in the video about how opening 5 didn't have any action and that affected its rank, but when looking at opening 10, You honestly did not think of it because of its action, but because of its amazing tone and song choice. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, this could be the final opening of the series, and I don't think it would have made a difference. From the animation to the graphics, everything and anything in this opening was 10 out of 10. It also wraps up the reincarnation arc and the first saga of Black Clover perfectly, but I think we all know what opening has to be first above everything. So for first place, the top of this list, the top of all 13 openings, first place rightly belongs to the latest opening and maybe even last opening of Black Clover, opening 13, Grandeur. Now, I don't think anyone should be surprised by this placement. It might not be my favorite opening, but it is of course the best. It features the Space Kingdom arc and showcases a huge time skip. We get a fire song and 1000 out of 10 animation. We also get to see a very iconic scene of Asta in the first opening, but it was redone in this opening but with a time skip Asta. The tone of the opening was also extremely hype. I mean, we got a year of filler in the anime, and when we finally got into the official arc, they went all out to make sure it's the best we have ever seen. I honestly want to find out if anyone has anything bad to say about this opening, because they are obviously a mental Black Clover hater, or they just don't know what Black Clover is. The opening was also trending on YouTube, which usually almost never happens with anime openings the first day they drop. Overall, the opening personally surpassed my expectations and will go down in the history of the Black Clover franchise, and that is number 1. And that is my ranking of all 13 Black Clover openings. Now, I know some of you may have agreed and some of you guys may have not, and that's totally fine. I try to be unbiased as possible and factor in a lot of aspects. Anyway, this is the end of the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more Black Clover content, smash the like button if you want to see more of this, and most importantly, don't forget to comment down below your ranking of all 13 openings, and let me know how you feel about mine. This is the end of the video. You guys have a nice day and stay safe.